but more specifically the 37 verses on the practice of the Bodhisattva. So everything is about loving kindness and being a peaceful warrior, if you will. It's not a very long text. It's I said 37 verses. It's more like 37 paragraphs. So we will read that together, and I'll tell you a little bit about the monk who wrote an excellent interpretation of it, the Art of Compassion, called Dodo Yense Rinpoche, so a Tibetan master. It's now defunct. And then we'll do a little metta meditation. I think we're going to emphasize a lot more love, loving kindness, compassion, those things in the next few sessions to come. I'm not sure how the rhythm will go. I'm not sure how many of those paragraphs we'll read and interpret every session. We'll see how it goes. But another great news is that Creek at night, maybe you met him before, was helping, sometimes guiding session, and we are aligning together so that the people at night will receive the same curriculum. So now when we meet together, the different groups of the Sangha, everybody will have received more or less the same knowledge, the same training, and sometime during this week, retreats with themes that we all share. So that's sort of the goal for me, to create more, to organize better and create more alignment in the Sangha while multiplying activities. So without further ado, let's do a little shamatha meditation together. And we do this without. So let us start with a few deep breaths. Make breathe. If you have a mala, now is a good time to get it out. Grab it with your left hand and start pushing those beads. You guys know the drill. Let us relax from the top of our head, going down slowly, relaxing our entire body. So let's relax our scalp, forehead, area around our ears, eyes, through that motion. Relax your cheeks, your jaw. Don't clench your teeth together. Allow for some air to pass between your lips, although they could be touching. Put the tongue in upper palate to discomfort, to fall asleep. And most importantly, make sure that your head, spine, back are all aligned. Head, spine. You can use my little trick of rocking back and forth or left and right. Find your center naturally. And then let the shoulder fall. Shoulders fall. Make sure your upper neck, back of your head is relaxed. Neck itself, no tension in the shoulders. Scan your body, release tension in your chest as well. It should be soft. Your arms sitting comfortably flat. Make sure the arms are relaxed down. Your hands, especially upper, soft, relaxed. And then release any tension you may find around the belly area. Noticing as your attention passes by that your heart is alive, that your body is doing things that you barely notice at point, like breathing and circulating your blood. Cells are dying, placed every moment of the day. You can feel a little bit grateful Eyes, calves, feet, and toes. Let's take another deep. Then you can breathe normally. Bring your attention to the breath. If you're using a mala, every time you exhale, just push a bead. Allows you to keep a sharp mind. It occupies your distraction. Then simply follow the breath with the mind. And if the mind wanders away, take it back gently to the breath. Just do that. Focus on the breath. Right breath. Inside and outside of our body. You manage to relax very well. Make a connection, peaceful state with the relaxation state. Get acquainted. See how you could bring it with you. Relax. able without thinking and itching the feeling, and then come back to your natural state. Right, now we can stretch a little bit and come back to the world. Although, quite frankly, I could do this all day. Felt very good on my side. How was your experience? Okay, so Mar, I hear you, but it's like you're very far. Probably not on the right way.
So I don't know if I was the only one, but sometimes, Zenke, when you're speaking quietly, it's like your mic is cutting in and out. I think the minimum volume threshold is a little bit too high.
Could be, yes, and thank you for pointing it out. I wonder if we have like an ear icon or something that would signal that to emojis when you're not hearing me, but we might probably have a convention like that to tell me without bothering others that you can't hear me. I don't know, like this maybe.
Okay.
Oh yeah, music. Music is good. Yeah, music is nicer for me.
Yeah, also I don't know if I was the only one for that, so maybe everyone else is not having the problem. But when you're saying a long thought, when you speak like a long sentence, it seems to be fine. It's just when you have those short phrases.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's probably the cutoff that is too. Probably the cutoff is analyzing how many decibels, but also how long is the noise. So if it's not long enough, it probably passes for background noise. So yeah. All right, I'll try to be a little bit more careful about that. I hope it didn't hurt your meditation too bad, Face.
I do have
Can you hear
an
me right now?
yeah.
We hear you from many places, I think now. Maybe it was feedback from your neighbor or something. But yeah, I could hear you well.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, you're good now. You're good. All right. So let me tell you a little bit about Dilgo Khyentse. There's an entire biography in the book. I don't think I'm gonna go through that. Um, through the years, I realized that some of my favorite Buddhist teachers all had one thing in common. They all had been taught by Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche. Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche was one of the last monks to have received a full education in Tibet before China invaded and pushed them away to India. So it's like he did his classical course, right? It's like he received a classical Tibetan education. And he lived from 1910 through 91. So he lived to age 80 years old. And he was a master. He had mastered all tradition. There are four main Buddhist sects in Tibetan Buddhism, so he had studied them all, and he was a lineage older for them all. He was also a Dzogchen teacher, which some of you might have heard about this secret Tibetan teaching. Also a Mahamudra teacher, which is the equivalent of Dzogchen, so another secret teaching from the Kagyu lineage. I don't know if he did Tumo, but I would probably think he did that as well. So an extremely knowledgeable and accomplished yogi. And he's been one of the instructor of the Dalai Lama. But if you guys also heard about the Tibetan book of the Living and Dying, not the original one, but the one written by Shoshin Rinpoche in the States, if you know about Shokyam Trungpa, if you know about Khyentse Norbu, if you know about many of those accomplished and sometimes controversial masters, they all studied under. So he wrote an interpretation. Well, he probably spoke it and somebody captured his words. And they called this book The Heart of Compassion. Mine is from Shambhala edition, and it's from the Padmakara translation. Anyway, I found it in EPUB format, and I could make that available to you guys on the honor that if you use the book and read it, that you will get a proper version from Amazon or whatever you want. If you like that, I could make it available when you have the means. Buy it, please. And I will put it. So that being said, this amazing teacher left us this piece of work, which is an interpretation of the 37 verses of the practice of the Bodhisattva. And I would like to read the root text with you, and then simply to have a general discussion about what loving kindness and meditation mean, in compassion means in Buddhism, because it's misunderstood. So let me start. There are some strange Indian words in there. I hope I'll pronounce them all good. So the 37 verses on the practice of a Bodhisattva. Namo Lokeshvaraya. Though he sees that in all phenomena there is no coming and going, he strives solely for the sake of beings, to the sublime teacher inseparable from Avalokiteshvara, the protector of beings. I pay constant homage with respectful body, speech, and mind. The perfect Buddhas, source of happiness and ultimate peace, exist through having accomplished the sacred Dharma, and that in turn depends on knowing how to practice it. This practice of the Bodhisattvas I shall therefore now explain. So this section is really like the homage and the intro. Now we get into the real root text. Verse 1. Now that I have this great ship, a precious human life, so hard to obtain, I must carry myself and others across the ocean of samsara. To that end, to listen, reflect, and meditate day and night without distraction is the practice of a bodhisattva. Verse 2. In my native land, waves of attachment to friends and kin surge. Hatred for enemies rages like fire. The darkness of stupidity, not caring what to adopt or avoid, thickens. To abandon my native land is the practice of the Bodhisattva. Verse number 3. When unfavorable places are abandoned, disturbing emotions gradually fade. When there are no distractions, positive activities naturally increase. As awareness becomes clearer, confidence in the Dharma grows. To rely on solitude is the practice of a bodhisattva. 4. Close friends who have long been together will separate. Wealth and possessions gained with much effort will be left behind. Consciousness, a guest, will leave the hotel of the body. To give up the concerns of this life is the practice of a bodhisattva. 5. In bad company, the three poisons grow stronger. Listening, reflection, and meditation decline, and loving kindness and compassion vanish. To avoid unsuitable friends is the practice of a bodhisattva. 6. Though reliance on a true spiritual friend once fault will fade, and good qualities will look like a waxing moon, to consider him even more precious than one's own body is the practice of a bodhisattva. I must mention here that spiritual friend is actually a literal translation for lama, or that's the name for monk as well in Tibet. So when you're talking about a Tibetan lama, you're really talking about a Tibetan spiritual friend. 7. Whom can worldly gods protect themselves imprisoned in samsara? To take refuge in the three jewels, who never fail those who protect, those who they protect is the practice of a bodhisattva. 8. The Buddha taught that the unendurable suffering of the lower realms is the fruit of unvirtuous actions. Therefore, to never act unvirtuously, even at the cost of one's life, is the practice of a bodhisattva. 9. Like dew on grass, the delights of the three worlds by their very nature evaporate in an instant. To strive for the supreme level of liberation, which never changes, is the practice. 10. If all the mothers who have loved me since beginningless time are suffering, what is the use of my own happiness? So with the aim of liberating limitless sentient beings, to set my mind on enlightenment is the practice of a bodhisattva. 11. All suffering, without exception, arises from desiring happiness from oneself, while perfect Buddhahood is born from the thought of benefiting others. Therefore, to really exchange my own happiness for the suffering of others is the practice of a bodhisattva. 12. If someone driven by great desire seizes all my wealth, or induces others to do so, to dedicate to him my body, possessions, and past, present, and future merit, is the practice of a bodhisattva. 13. If, in return, for not the slightest wrong of mine, someone were to cut off even my very head, through the power of compassion to take all his negative action upon myself is the practice of a bodhisattva. 14. Even if someone says all sorts of derogatory things about me and proclaims them throughout the universe, in return, out of loving kindness, to extol that person's qualities is the practice of a bodhisattva. 15. Even if in the midst of a large gathering someone exposes my hidden faults with insulting language, to bow to him respectfully, regarding him as a spiritual friend, is the practice of a bodhisattva. So again, spiritual friend. So basically it means to look at those that insult us as our teachers. 16. Even if one I've lovingly cared for like my own child regards me as an enemy, to love him even more as a mother loves a sick child is the practice of a bodhisattva. 17. Even if my peers or my inferiors, out of pride, do all they can to debase me, to respectfully consider them like my teachers on the crown of my head is the practice of a bodhisattva. 18. Even when utterly destitute and constantly maligned by others, afflicted by terrible illness and prey to evil forces, to still draw upon myself the suffering and wrongdoing of all beings, and not lose heart is the practice of the bodhisattva. 19. Though I may be famous and revered by many, and as rich as the god of wealth himself, To see that the wealth and glory of the world are without essence, and to be free of arrogance is the practice. 20. If one does not conquer one's own hatred, the more one fights outer enemies, the more they will increase. Therefore, with the armies of loving kindness and compassion, to tame one's own mind is the practice of a bodhisattva. 21. Sense pleasures and desirable things are like salt water. The more one tastes them, the more one's thirst increases. To abandon promptly all objects which arouse attachment. 22. All that appears is the work of one's own mind. The nature of mind is primordially free from conceptual limitations. To recognize this nature and not entertain concepts of subject and object is the practice. 3. When encountering objects which please us, to view them like rainbows in summer, not ultimately real, however beautiful as they appear, and to relinquish craving and attachment is the practice of Bodhisattva. Verse 4. The various forms of suffering are like the death of one's child in a dream. By clinging to deluded perceptions as real, we exhaust ourselves. Therefore, when encountering unfavorable circumstances, to view them as illusions is the practice of a bodhisattva. 25. If those who wish for enlightenment must give away even their own bodies, how much more should it be true of material objects? Therefore, without expectation of result or reward, to give with generosity is the practice of a bodhisattva. 26. If lacking discipline, one cannot accomplish one's own good. It is laughable to think of accomplishing the good of others. Therefore, to observe discipline without samsaric motives is the practice of a bodhisattva. If you attend Bante's teachings on Wednesday, you might have heard him say that he's only interested to teach the students that come here that have discipline. I'm a little bit more casual about it, but I guess that's about this verse. 27. For a bodhisattva who desires the joys of virtue, all who harm him are like a precious treasure. Therefore, to cultivate patience toward all without resentment is the practice of a bodhisattva. 28. Merely for their own sake, even Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, Shravakas means those who listen, that's the category unto which you belong to which you belong, and Pratyeka Buddhas are self-realized people. So, merely for their own sake, even Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas make efforts like someone whose hair is on fire, trying to put it out. Seeing this for the sake of all beings, practice diligence, the source of excellent qualities, is the practice of the Bodhisattva. 29. Knowing that through profound insight, thoroughly grounded in sustained calm, the disturbing emotions are completely conquered. To practice the concentration which utterly transcends the four formless states is the practice of a bodhisattva. 30. In the absence of wisdom, perfect enlightenment cannot be attained. Though the other five perfections alone, through the other 5% perfections alone. Therefore, to cultivate wisdom combined with skillful means and free from the three concepts is the practice of a bodhisattva. 31. If I do not examine my own defects, though outwardly a Dharma practitioner, I may act contrary to the Dharma. Therefore, continuously to examine my own faults and give them up is the practice of a bodhisattva. 32. If, impelled by negative emotions, I relate the faults of other bodhisattvas, I will myself degenerate. Therefore, to not talk about the faults of anyone who has entered the Mahayana is the practice of a bodhisattva. 30. Offerings and respect may bring discord and cause listening, reflection, and meditation to decline. Therefore, to avoid attachment to the homes of friends and benefactors is the practice of a bodhisattva. 34. Harsh words disturb the minds of others and spoil our own bodhisattva practice. Therefore, to give up rough speech which others find unpleasant is the practice of a bodhisattva. 35. When emotions become habitual, they are hard to get rid of within us. Therefore, with mindfulness and vigilance, to seize the weapon of the antidote and crush attachment and other negative emotions, the moment they arise is the practice of bodhisattva. 36. In short, wherever I am, whatever I do, to be continually mindful and alert, asking, what is the state of my mind? And accomplishing the good of others is the practice of a bodhisattva. 37. Dedicating to enlightenment through wisdom purified of the three concepts, all merit achieved by such endeavor. To remove the suffering of numberless beings is the practice of bodhisattva. And that was the root text. There's a little conclusion that says, following the teachings of the holy beings, I have arranged the points taught in the sutras, tantras, and shastras as the 37 verses on the practice of a bodhisattva, for the benefit of those who wish to train on the bodhisattva path. Since my understanding is poor and I have little education, this is no composition to delight the learned. But as it is based on the sutras and teachings of holy beings, I think it is genuinely the practice of the bodhisattva. However, it is hard for someone unintelligent like me to fathom the great waves of the bodhisattva's activities. So I beg the forgiveness of the holy ones for my contradictions, irrelevances, and other mistakes. Though the merit arising from this and through the power of the sublime Bodhichitta, relative and absolute, may all beings become like the Lord Avalokiteshvara. That's the Lord of compassion, compassion itself, who is beyond the extremes of samsara and nirvana. For his own benefit and that of others, Tokme, a teacher of scripture and logic, composed this text as Rinchen Fog in Gochu. So this text, I think, dates back to like the 14th. Maybe search. No, earlier actually. So Jose Gochu Togme was born in 1295 and died in 1369. So that's basically from the 13th century, possibly 14th. So it's a very old text that I've just read to you guys, and it's been reinterpreted by a friend there, Insei, on which I will use that as inspiration for my interpretation of the next, I guess, something like weeks. The idea is that we will revisit this root text a few paragraphs at a time, and we will discuss what it means in daily life, each step, deepen our understanding of those vows. So, what did you guys think? Do you think it's a good subject matter to explore in the next few weeks together? Yeah?
Yeah.
I see a few
I
thumbs.
think so. It's quite interesting.
All right. So, what are the first words that come up to mind after hearing this text? What did it conjure in you?
That everything
It's
is
like the
practice
10.
of compassion.
The Ten Commandments? Was anyone gonna say like the Ten Commandments or something?
Yes, I think I heard that. So they are guidelines, definitely, for bodhisattvas. Anything else? Nobody got the feeling like there was like self-sacrifice in there quite a lot?
Yeah, definitely. I thought of a negative scenario where you have war or something and someone gets all your stuff. You want to give everything, they take everything, and then what do? You just go meditate and hope that you get stuff back or something.
There was this one case. I was reading this book about with Thich Nhat Hanh, and he talked about back then. I think it was in was it the whole thing with Vietnam and China or something, you know. Also around the time that one known monk burned himself alive as protest, but one of his friends kind of got abducted, and he never heard from him ever again. And he thinks that he was probably tortured and killed. That happened in that time. And he didn't spoke about the occupation, the people that occupied back then, as evil or with anger, those soldiers that did this to his friends, because he said that even those soldiers or those people were being manipulated and were being a victim from manipulation of the government and other stuff that they were born into, and they had nothing better than all this propaganda to believe in. So in a way they were victims as well, and that he felt sad that people could go that low or fall victim to become lesser than their own good being in a way. And while I understand that, and we can say that for a lot of things, that we can feel sorry and sadness that people got manipulated and become lesser beings of themselves, when you indeed lose a loved one or a friend, the whole idea of still having compassion of your enemy becomes really difficult, because it's far more tempting to give into anger, you know. It's also more logical for a lot of people to give into anger.
Right, of course, it is like a normal reaction, um, especially if you did not pre-think it. Like if the loss is sudden or the aggression is sudden, you sort of don't have a philosophical position about it. You sort of did not study the consequences of your reaction to it, because it just happened so suddenly. So then, obviously, if it takes you by surprise, it's sort of normal to react and even act violence. The moment you don't know better. But if you give that some thoughts, actually, you will see that persecuting more people won't bring peace. Right? Violence only leads to violence. It can never create peace. And that's sort of one basic thing that a bodhisattva would recognize there. And Mar, you were mentioning giving everything you have, and then what, you know? And it reminded me of Julia. What was the name of that woman saint that during the war, when they were very poor, was feeding her husband? You remember? You might be muted if you're
Santa
answering.
Rita?
Okay. Yes, probably Santa Rita. So you had, and that's from the Catholic tradition. But Santa Rita, what she would do, she would cut pieces of herself and cook it for her husband, because they were very poor. She wanted to feed her husband, so she would cut pieces and cook them, feed them that. That's exactly the attitude of the Bodhisattva. If you look in the Dhammapada or other Buddhist tales like the Jakarta, you will find that a monk finds himself alone in the jungle, and then you see a starving tiger that is very weak and very thin, and he would cut himself and feed him his blood or give it part of his body, whatever. So here's the twist, because I spoke about self-sacrifice. You can only self-sacrifice if you have a self. If you are well versed in your practice and you are pretty much becoming a selfless being, then the sacrifice component is not there anymore. And that's what allows those masters go to those lengths, those saints to go to those lengths, is that they're not thinking about themselves at all anymore. They're just thinking about the great good. Um, and I like to start with that because it sort of relates to this idea of, first of all, loving kindness is very difficult to define. Um, and it's super badly interpreted. People um, would sometimes confound that, mix that with pity. Like, oh my God, you're so little and frail. I pity you. Here, let me help you. That's not compassion. And then in the loving component or the kindness component, one could think of that as sort of attachment and passion, and like a more conventional sort of loving relationship. That's not it either. The true meaning of bodhicitta is the bodhicitta of the universe, the way that the world, in its profound real nature, treats everything there is. That's closer to the sense of loving kindness. And here's how we can experience that ourselves. Uh, Alan Watts speaks of. He says that the best way to clear muddy water, and I'm sure I told you guys that before, is just to leave it alone. And what happens if you have muddy water in a glass and you leave it alone is that the sediments start falling at the bottom, and then the water above becomes clear. So when we are meditating, and especially when we are trying to let our bodhicitta arise, when we're trying to manifest love, all we have to do is to let the mud fall down. So let's say you come from work. Hello there. Please sit with us. Um, or go around and have a visit as you wish, but you're welcome. um, yeah, when we're trying to manifest love, if you are bringing the intent, then you are sort of ego motivated, and everything that is ego motivated cannot be sort of the genuine state, right? If it's a conscious decision that you're making, like I will love you, then you're making a plan, you're starting to scheme, your intellect kicks in, and it's not like genuine natural love. So the way that we can really manifest that in our life is what we experience on the cushion when we manage to sort of empty our mind or let all thoughts pass and all emotions pass, and we remain in a state where all of our stress and all of our difficult emotions have settled. They're sort of at the bottom of our body. They're not at the top of our mind anymore. And then we start feeling really, really good, enjoying that peaceful state, almost floating, as if there was no boundary and no constriction anymore. That is very close to the real loving state. This is really close to real bodhicitta. So when in Buddhism you hear that you have to make your bodhicitta arise, it's actually not something that you have to do. It's something that you don't do. It's things that you need to let go of for love to fill the space, for love to take its place. And another part of that is that we need to understand what love is if we ever want to be able to dwell in loving kindness and bodhicitta. So that's why we're having this talk today, is we're going to talk a lot about loving kindness in the upcoming maybe 12 weeks. But if we don't know what the state is, then nothing will make sense and the practice will be on the wrong track. So let us try and name behaviors, attitudes, and elements that when they are done to us, we feel like we are being loved. For example, I feel loved when my wife cooks for me and she comes and feeds me some good food to keep me alive and well fed. I feel that this is a loving gesture. What else feels like love to you guys in your daily life, in your relationships?
What is love? And baby, don't hurt me.
Music.
We're talking about love. Hell yeah, let's go.
Yeah,
I
or
wish I
just
could do that
hugging on the
night at the
couch.
Roxbury thing. I'm sorry, could you repeat that, Mark?
Hugging on the couch.
Alone, yeah, just on the couch, alone, quiet. Right? What else
No,
feels
with
loving to you?
someone.
Yes.
Yeah, well, I mean, alone together. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
What else?
When your friends or coworkers bring in baked cake for no reason.
Random gestures of generosity. Mara, why does it feel loving to be laying with somebody on the couch doing nothing?
Because hugging someone is giving a great feeling.
So are you loving yourself through them? Is that what you're saying?
Comforting each other.
Yeah, comforting
Yeah.
each other. You're giving each other a nice feeling by hugging each other.
It
By
breaks
sitting
the
together.
solitude, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like not feeling. It's like not feeling alone. I guess that's. I mean, there was this one documentary of apes that were living in quite a stormy area. It will rain a lot. I don't know how it's called when it rains super heavily. There's a word for that. But these, yeah, something like that indeed. And these apes learned probably through evolution as well, because it's probably partly evolution with us as well, that by hugging each other and sharing, touching each other, they would share warmth, and there would be more ways of survival by being close to each other. And it came to a point they would start hugging each other even when it's not raining, just because they eventually started to like it. And even with younger animals, you sometimes see it, that the moment they panic, they start hugging the other infants. Even though if a lion would come around, I don't think hugging will help saving yourself against a lion attack. But you know, it's something primal we seem to rely on. Hugging the lion, yeah, maybe the lion only wants to be hugged. Yes.
It's worth a try.
Well, why not?
Yes.
Your last
It'll work
chance
once, at least.
for a romance.
You would be a nice dinner for him.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
At
an
least
interesting
lion
point.
is happy.
It's an interesting point about apes, but maybe you guys know also that a human baby, if you leave it alone, even if you fulfill all of its needs, it dies. It doesn't survive just because of the lack of contact. And kids that lack physical contact with their parents, they become aggressive as well and quite dysfunctional in their later life. So it's very important to feel connected as beings. What else feels like love in our lives?
Patience.
That's a good
People are patient with us. Yeah.
I feel personally, I feel loved when someone is comfortable enough to share things with me, maybe things that aren't easy to discuss, so like confidence, I guess.
Yep.
Like
Know
trust.
that.
Being able to become a confident, trust, understanding, empathy.
Yeah, I really
Yeah,
wanted to say
definitely.
about understanding. Like, understanding is one of the best things to do for another person. That, like, you know, you get to the same level as they are. So, like, they.
Is it understanding or is it that they don't judge you?
It might be also both, but like for example, if you have a friend that like is talking about their issues with their partner, and then like instead of like trying to problem solve this issue or like trying to say it will be okay, so saying that like you know, that sounds really harsh, like, you know, try to make me understand, and like, you know, then like, you know, they feel like they are being understood by someone. And that feels like really lovely. That gives a really lovely feeling that, like, you know, that they're not alone in the sorrow or like in the suffering of the world.
right? So I will call that listening to us. Right?
yeah, listening
Yep.
to.
Because understanding, I mean, we don't understand the thing presented with the same subject. It's very possible that we don't exactly understand the same thing, but definitely to have someone by our side that at least listens, and if on top of it they don't judge, it is awesome. So let's go to something profound here that you have named the things, right? And here's what I think. Love is felt when there is no division. No division between us and the world, no division between us and others. And also when there is absence of fear. So when you mention trust, like somebody is trusting you, it means that they're not afraid of you or what you could do. And yes, there is love in there. Someone that is listening to you is someone that is willing to bond with you as well. And someone that does not judge you is also someone that doesn't want to separate and create division. And so, and love brings us together, right? Even on the sofa that Mara was talking about. So naturally, when we're in a loving relationship, we sort of hang together. But then there are actions like cutting a tree just for fun. That's not a loving behavior. That's something twisted. It's where you are sort of affirming your dominance over nature by cutting a tree. If you needed to build your house, you can be thankful and grateful about it. But the violence is transformed. It is recycled into something constructive. But mainly, the practice of Buddhism is the practice of eliminating or avoiding divisions between ourselves and the world. And it's recognizing the subtle division. Like when I say hi, not hi, but I myself, me, myself, I. Can you see how this is divisive already? I am singling myself out from the rest of the world the minute I pronounce words like I, me, and myself. I'm something special all of a sudden. And it's the same if I say you, or as it's sometimes done by racist people, you people, or your people, right? What is that, my people? Who are you? Are you not people as well? But we use expressions and strategies like that constantly separate us. In Buddhism, we talk about sentient beings, and they include animals. So it's not like you animal or you inferior being. Because you're a sentient being like me, and you're trying to have a good time. And then, so there's division with the world, division in our relationship, division with the animal realm. I think the worst kind of division is inner division. When I hate myself, when I look at myself in the mirror and I find myself imperfect and insufficient. Louise Hay, who's a pop psycho author, calls that a cancerous thought. She says that thoughts of inner division like that are turning the mind against the mind, or the mind against the heart, or the heart against the mind, are the source of turning the body against the body. You are doing self-violence, basically, when you experience inner division. You're doing self-hatred. And it is impossible to experience bodhicitta in a state of self-hatred or of division. Let's say you're sitting on the cushion, but you think you should really, really be vacuuming your floors instead, carpets up there. You are in a state of inner division. You're not wholeheartedly on the cushion. Then how can you arise bodhicitta in that state? Your fear of not getting the carpets done will come and steal the love away. Does that make sense to you guys, what I'm saying here about division?
Yeah. But
Yes, it does.
I do have a question about what you said about self-hatred and stuff. About I think it's partly about not being able to forgive yourself, maybe, or that you start, but it seems rather far more easier to forgive other people eventually, and see, I understand why you did that, and I'll forgive you for that. But if you are, I think in a way we all have or have had in our lives moments that we still cannot forgive ourselves for past deeds, even though if someone else might look at it and say, oh well, it ain't that bad, I don't know why you're dwelling so on it. But I wonder, how should one come to, work on that, to be able to forgive oneself? But because I think it's for some people very hard or difficult.
So for the need for forgiveness to be there, you need a pre-existing condition of guilt. You need to feel guilty about something. And here's an interesting thing. When the Tibetan Lamas came to the West for the first time, somebody just like you made a question like this in a room where they were teaching. And they said, Master, how do I deal with my guilt? And the Tibetan looked at him and said, what is that? And then the Westerner tried to explain, and the Tibetan was not getting it. So the Tibetan went and spoke with other masters. I said, what is that thing, guilt, that they speak about? And they all looked at one another, puzzled, and said, we don't know. We don't know what is guilt. They don't experience that in Tibet and in other Asian countries. The concept of guilt doesn't even exist. It's something that we made up, that we should beat on ourselves, probably through Catholicism, honestly. That we should whip ourselves forever because we have hair. What's important when you make a mistake is that you recognize that you have made a mistake profoundly, deeply, to the point that you feel it, and that you identify a better way of doing things, and that you do that. And that is all the forgiveness that you need, my friend. Anything beyond that is just self-torture. It's beyond self-hatred. It's taking you into the agony of, it's like you want yourself to feel bad because you're sort of angry with yourself. But that's a lot of energy spent that could be invested in something constructive or in the solution instead. So how to deal with this? Well, first realize that guilt is made up, that guilt is self-inflicted punishment, and that the only way you can restore your life to a loving state and to a state where you can be useful to others is by letting go of it, by forgiving yourself. It's for me, it's funny, even that idea of forgiving others. Because let's say you come and you punch me in the face and then you walk away and I never see you again. If I hate you for that, who's feeling bad? You or me?
You.
Right?
You.
I'm still feeling bad because you punched me. So that's a strange thing. The forgiveness really is not for others, it's for us. To be allowed to forgive our assailant is just for us to resume our life, basically. Otherwise, you're stuck. It's like you froze in time with this event, and you're just really mad about it. And I'd say that's probably the essence of PTSD. You froze, and there's something you really didn't want to happen that happened to you, and there is guilt, and there is anger, and there is all kind of feeling, and you condemn yourself to relive that until the end of times. So I don't have any magic formula there, but I would say recognize that this is true. Find it in your heart that this is true. And then one little step at a time, maybe. And then.
Do you mind if I
Yeah,
just
sorry. Getting real tired.
Yeah, go ahead.
Gonna go to sleep now. Sorry,
All
everyone.
right, Jared.
Okay,
Yeah,
sleep well.
always tired.
Sleep,
Uh,
sleep well.
Good night, everyone.
Jared, Jared.
And as always,
Good night, Jared.
love you
Good night,
all.
Jared.
Namaste.
Love ya.
Namaste.
Au revoir.
Someone else was talking, I think, just before Jared. Let's say
it's just
goodbye.
Yeah, I just wanted to sort of talk about what Casper was saying there, that it's easier to forgive other people than it is to give yourself. And that's very, very true. It's shown in psychology many times. Beyond just actually forgiving, um, being able to rationally look at other people's problems and console them, give them advice is much easier to do that when it's another person that's having a problem than you. There was even this experiment done where this research done where a group of psychologists built this VR application where you put on a VR headsets and you're taken to this virtual room where you're sitting in a chair and opposite of you is this Freudian-looking psychologist figure with a bagpipe asking you, okay, so tell me about your problems. Starts telling him about what's bothering you, and then after a couple minutes after you tell him your problems, you've taken out of your body and you brought across to the other chair, to the psychologist's chair, and now you can see yourself in the opposite chair. That recording of you talking about your problems is repeated, and then you are asked to give yourself advice. When you're taken to this other perspective, they found that people are a lot better at rationally looking at the situation and trying to give themselves advice, trying to console themselves, and it worked much better than just a person trying to deal with problems on his own.
That sounds powerful. Yeah, sorry, but that's amazing. That's amazing to hear.
It is the essence of psychoanalysis and psychology. You carry on, Disco, but I'll tell you one bit about that after that.
Sure. But yeah, where I was going with this is that first step would probably be to get beyond guilt, is try and look at a situation rationally. To try and rationalize why you're guilty, what was bothering you, what can you learn from it, and how can you prevent the same situation in the future. When you have decided that you have learned as much as you can for it and you're trying to better yourself from that situation, then you can work on the next step, which is to try and put it beyond yourself. Because as long as you know you've learned from the situation as much as you can, there's really, at least from a rational point of view, really no points of feeling guilty beyond that. You should forgive yourself. But that's not as easy to do as it is to say. I'm sure we all get those feelings in the middle of the night where our brain just suddenly springs up this awkward situation of how you messed up your school play 10 years ago, which is completely irrelevant, but your brain loves to have these kind of episodes. And it's not rational, it's not logical to think about that. Not at all, but you gotta realize that your brain
Yeah,
is...
but then people will tell you, no, Disco, you don't understand. My school play was a mega production. It was super important, and all my family was there, right? But when we make it mine and ours, and we bring this is the attachment actually. What made it so real and so something big for us is where it hurts. Basically, it was not just a child's play.
True, there are important situations, but like I said, learn from it as much as you can. Learn from that situation as much as you can, and beyond that, there's no rational point of actually feedback for yourself about that same situation again. When those thoughts do come up, the best you can do is try practicing meditation, just observe the thought and let it come and go.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. That's a pretty good intervention. I just wanted to sing compliment for psychology and psychoanalysis. The idea of it is basically you listening to yourself talk, right? Psychologist's job is mainly to ask questions. And as you speak questions aloud, sometimes you will go, oh my God, I've been doing that for the last 10 years. And then it won't solve your problem tomorrow, but it has just cracked the egg open. Now you sort of know what it is that you've been doing that is wrong. And you can stop doing it gradually or immediately if you have the strength in you, or it was really you were really unaware. So it's to take the stuff that is subconscious and bring it to the conscious level through discussion so that you can see it. So I can totally see that if you reverse the role and listen to your own recording, it will make it even more conscious. But that's also what we do in Vipassana when we are practicing meditation. Like when we are asking things like, well, what is love for me? Am I practicing love the way I conceive of it? Am I treating people as good as I could? Am I treating myself as good as I could? Do I like this job? Why not? Why am I so special that I deserve a better job? And so on. You start identifying while you're there, just flying in your head on the cushion, all kinds of limitations that you have put in front of yourself, and that all kinds of barriers that you just need to open and remove. So guilt is one of those things. I had, just for fun, I did a quick Google search and found here steps to help with guilt and forgiveness. And one thing is name your guilt, and then they say explore the source, apologize and make amends, learn from the past, practice gratitude that you are still alive and well, and I don't know what you did. You're not in jail, you're fine, you didn't die, you're there. Replace negative self-talk with self-compassion, which is pretty much what we do in our practice. And remember that guilt is a tool, it has a function, but it's worthless if you don't use it like that. Then forgive yourself, talk to people you trust, then of course you can go to therapists and everything. So there's no magical recipe. I think it's a process, but it's a process of self-love and self-acceptance and integration instead of division. All of us have darkness and light inside of us, but you have to love the dark side as much as you love the light side. Not to fuel it, not to feed it, but to acknowledge that it exists, that it is there, and that you are capable of the worst, so that you can guard yourself better against those behaviors. So just to go back on topic, love is the absence of division. And it's so subtle, it's almost ridiculous. If I say, hey, I'm in a football team, and my football team is awesome, and you're not in a football team, I'm still creating division. I'm sort of telling you I'm part of an elite club that is awesome, and you're not part of that awesomeness. So that's why a very good way of practicing right speech and of not creating division is just to shut up. When we were talking about love earlier, we were talking about listening, which is shutting up. We were talking about patience, which is shutting up. We were talking about being together and not saying a word. That's still shutting up. There are some sages that say we have two ears and only one mouth, and that's to listen twice as much as we speak. And I believe that is very wise advice. Because every time you speak, you don't know, and every time you act, in fact, you don't know what kind of feelings you're going to cause to people. Sometimes it's happened a lot in my life as an entrepreneur. I start a project which I think is awesome. I get excited. I invite people. I make things happen. And then not long after, there's always somebody tapping me on the back. And then I realize that there is I have created envy and jealousy without wanting. Or I have created naysayers and people that started to focus on my own failures and stuff. It's really strange, but everything that we do in the world makes ripples and has consequences on people. So it is wise to act discreetly, give our advices discreetly, and only when people ask for them. It is just loving. And I always go back to how would you care for a flower? And the flower, you need to care for our environment. There's nothing that you're going to do to the flower itself. You just have to make sure that it has earth and the earth is wet, and it has nutriments, and it has sun, and you take care of the environment, and you create a healthy flower. Well, here's the thing. Isn't that how the universe cares for us? Didn't the universe provide the cloud and the rain and the sun and the grass and the material for us to build houses and the kins with which we hang and the distractions and the fun and all the cool things that we like? Isn't that extremely loving? You know, we might say it's a mindless being, it's the universe. But if it was your mother doing that, in fact, that's what your mother does for you, right? She brings the food closer to you. She makes sure that, you know, let's say God provided the water and mom takes care of the shower. God provided the nature in the fields and the seeds, and mom makes sure it reaches your plate. So this love of the universe that created this entire environment in which we can be born, grow up, and die. This is the ultimate love of Buddhism. And it goes much farther from our experience on Earth. It's not just about this blue sky. Think of outer space and the order in the universe. How planets go around stars and how solar systems go around one another, and then galaxies and all that complexity. There is also in that space, there is love. If the space wasn't there, none of that could exist, right? It is in the space that all of this exists and interacts. So this is the ultimate love of Buddhism. This is the bodhichitta that you need to arise when you sit on the cushion. This is the sort of mindset that you need to remove your self-importance and understand that you are not here to kick and scream and do your own will because your ego was frustrated, but you are here to participate in something bigger, in a plan, the essence of which is harmony. And that as a bodhisattva and as a practitioner, your duty is to be mindful of that harmony and to protect it and to bring it in the world and to teach people how to be more harmony. So this is really what the 37 verses of the practice of the bodhisattva are about. And this is what I guess we will learn to do. So now I guess to close this little meeting today, well, first of all, is that clear for everyone? Do you have questions about it?
Well, I was thinking about the facts about the harmony and stuff. The funny thing is, even with the main religions in a way, whether it's Islam, Judaism, Christianity, those are like the religions of Abraham. You could say they all have like the same line of ascending, descending, but they are even radicalized people in any kind of religion often say they do these things for the purpose of harmony, because one of the things you learn in Buddhism, we don't really think about heaven, more about nirvana, about pure consciousness and being connected. But a lot of people are like, oh, you know, if you do bad, you go to hell. If you do good, you go to heaven. Everyone should go to heaven. So I should teach everyone how to go to heaven. And those who do not listen, they are danger for the others. So we have to get rid of them, because we actually do this for the greater good at the end of the day, to make everyone go to this loving eternal place. And even the most radicalized people think like that. And it's interesting just to think it might be as simple, you know, as you said a couple of times, just shut up and be quiet and just be in harmony and stuff. But it seems like it's in our human nature to actually want to help each other, but in doing so we sometimes actually do disastrous things. Some of the worst things in this world has happened because radicalized or extreme people have done things, but in their mind it was still, this is for the greater good at the end of the day. And probably even flying planes into buildings or stuff like that, you know? It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, and the thing is that we are all in paradise. It's not something to attain at a later date. We are all sitting in nirvana right now. The problem is that instead of being in harmony with it, we're sort of watching a violent movie in heaven. We're watching the film that our mind is projecting, and we're all caught up in it. So we get all kinds of feeling, we get all worked up, we get stressed, we get mad, we get emotional. But it's just something we were watching on TV on cloud number 9 in heaven, right? So I think that it is ridiculous, but this is what we're doing. And waking people up is just telling them basically, hey, guy, you're watching a movie. Stop yelling. Shut up. You know, it's not real. You're on a cloud. Look around. And this is what the practice of the Bodhisattva is, to go and wake up everybody from the movie. That's why, I don't know, you probably all know that, but if you watch The Matrix is 100% a Buddhist movie. And this is what it's about. And by the way, The Matrix 4, I don't know where they're going with that, but it looks like to me that they're showing the reverse. What happens to you if you don't wake up? What kind of life would you have if you don't wake up? So they're opposing sort of nirvana to samsara in their journey. Anyway, but yeah, love is a simple thing. It's a beautiful thing. It's accessible. It's right there. We're just hiding it. You often find this in Buddhism. They say, you are born with the truth, but you buried it. You buried it somewhere and you've forgotten where. Or it's encrusted in your forehead like a diamond and you cannot see it because you never look at yourself in the mirror. This is where all the analogies are. Also, you were talking about religions that radicalize, and unfortunately, it's not the religion itself that radicalize. It's the dumbass people that interpret them. For example, Catholicism will tell you God is everywhere. And then right after that, they tell you God is love. And then in the Ancient Testament, they say, lift a rock and I'm there, go behind it. I don't remember the citation exactly, but basically look anywhere and I'm always there. So isn't that the same bodhicitta that I've been describing here? That is all of there making the universe possible. It's literal, it's right there. And dumbass people, what we do is that we look at this thing and say, God is everywhere. They must mean that I need to carry my rosary everywhere, otherwise I'll go to hell. We interpret that in the worst possible way, and then we indoctrinate our peers into it. While true religion is freedom. Love is freedom as well. All that space is freedom. So we need to develop a profound relationship with this because that is God. To develop a strong relationship and a deep relationship with your inner peace and the love of the world is to be directly connected to God. And from this comes all wisdom. You know, if you have a problem in life, don't ask yourself what you would do because you're afraid or because you're frustrated. Or the answer is obvious there. You know, if you're angry, the answer that will come from your ego is, I should go and punch that guy. Okay? But if you ask universal love that rejects division, what is the answer to my problem here? The answer cannot possibly be a punch. The answer will be
nice, be kind.
Well, exactly. Well, I should have shut up. I shouldn't be worked over that. This is a teaching for me. There's something to learn in there. You will come to a bunch of conclusions that do not involve doing anything back to the person that mistreated you. So I guess that's it. Welcome to Bodhichitta and the Path of the Bodhisattva and the Peaceful Warrior. We'll be spending time on that. And today, let's do a little meta meditation, which the instruction is going to be very simple. You're going to sit in silence and you're going to let the stress and the opinions and the thoughts and everything drop. And you're going to just notice the peace that arises and you're going to get into it with that. If you can feel that this thing loves you, that this thing loves everything, even better. Try to connect with that. That's going to be our meta. All right. So, did you manage to connect a little bit and feel that ever-present love all around it? Or did you have trouble?
Yes, I did, but there were times I was getting distracted. How do I defeat this boss at level so much at this specific game? And I was like, oh, wait, no. Back to meditation. Easy to get distracted. Yeah, a lot of things going in your mind. Random things.
So it's strange what happens also as you really get connected with reality and avoid divisions and distraction. You will see that at some point games and movies and everything start to be pretty meaningless because they feel like just more layers. Like there's enough distraction in life. It's just adding more and more layers to it. So maybe that distraction will fall off of itself, Casper, at some point. But that being said, good luck with your level.
I'll defeat the bastard, don't worry. I'll give him some tough Buddhi. I'll give him. I'll give him Bodhichitta. I'm gonna give him some good Bodhichitta love with my 12 gauge shotgun.
Oh my. Okay, so we'll have to restart this session, guys. I think the message didn't go across to everybody.
I've become a radicalized Buddhist.
He recorded it so he can watch it again.
All right, then you should probably do that, Casper. After you defeat the level, obviously.
After you defeat, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I've actually been recording with a new angle this time, using this new avatar, although I kind of quickly set it up so it's more like a test, but it is more interesting, this angle, than how I usually record. Probably will do it better next time, but
that's why I can see you.
yeah, it's a special avatar that has like a flying drone that I can put in a certain location while still being in place.
Nice.
Congrats on the filmography improvement, Casper, and thank you for being so well, always there, so dedicated to that cause. I use the recordings myself to remember stuff I have said, so it's practical.
Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Blah blah yada yada yada.
Yeah. So starting next week, the second meditation session will make 20 minutes long. You can't make it the entire time. You'll be free to leave whenever you want. But for those that want to enjoy a longer session, we'll be doing that. And if not, well, we are ready to disband this session today. So sorry, Eggs, a bit late to this one. But Julia, if you want to join me in front, let's do the dedication. And so let's all rise for it.
For the benefit of beings without exception, I dedicate without any reticence whatsoever all the merit accrued through virtuous acts to the incomparable expanse of totality.
Thank you. Namaste, all of you. Have a wonderful week, and
Namaste.
I'll be happy to see you at JobCon. Oh, I forgot to plug myself. Darn. 2 days from now, during JobCon, I'm giving a stress management class. So it will be in the JobCon skyscraper. You guys can make it. We're gonna discuss about how stress manifests in our lives and different strategies, Buddhist strategies, enlightened strategies to deal with it. If you can make it, I'll be happy to see you there in my temporary temple.
Do you have a time in mind, Zinky, for this? You said it's in 2 days?
I don't, but I can go check on the website and put it on my mind. Just a sec.
Sure.
Can you put it on the Shoshin Discord?
It's 11 Eastern time, so 2 hours earlier than the session. And that is on the 22nd.
And I'll be recording again because it's kind of what I have to do those 3 days.
Yeah. Thank you, Casper. All right. So you guys have a great week if I don't see you. And until next time, take care.
Till next
That was nice. Especially, yeah, yeah, especially like I have been thinking about the concept of love itself for a while now, like for an entire year, and like even before like I like learned about anything about Buddhism, like I kind of like understood the same concept of like love is actually like not like understanding that there's no self. It's so fascinating that like to hear that all again. But I kind of forgot like that like no matter what you do in your life, the